Greetings and welcome to another Reflections on the Proverbs. I am your host, Michael J. Griffin Jr., and today we're going to discuss Proverbs 19:25, and I've entitled this one, The Easy Way or the Hard Way. All right, so Proverbs 19:25 reads from the King James Version, Smite a scorner, and the simple will beware, and reprove one that hath understanding, and he will understand knowledge. So you know my threefold method, right? It's the plan, the purpose, and the produce. So I'm going to add this to the stream. We see here, even in the ESV, it says, "Strike a scoffer, and the simple will learn prudence or wisdom, and reprove a man of understanding, and he will gain knowledge." So, what's the plan, the purpose, and the produce of this proverb? Well, the plan is this: to contrast the two types of learning. You're either going to learn the easy way or you're going to learn the hard way, right? They say a hard head makes a soft you know what, right? For those of us that grew up hearing those kinds of sayings and those types of proverbs, right? We would call these the urban proverbs. All right, so but the plan is to contrast these two types of learners. You see here, you smite a scoffer, and the simple will beware. The simple see, oh, he got beat for that. Yeah, I probably don't want to do that. And reprove one that hath understanding, someone who already has understanding. He's not simple, he's not a fool, and he will gain understanding. So he doesn't need to see someone being smited or smitten or struck in order to learn. So what is this supposed to? What is the purpose of this? Right. This is the purpose of this is to show us that learning by reproof, we should desire that greater than smiting or being struck. We should be people of understanding. Solomon wants his son to be a man of understanding. He doesn't want him to be one that needs to be to have difficult things or hard things happen to him in order for him to learn. He shouldn't be one that says, "Oh, this person did X, performed X behavior, and reaped the whirlwind of those behaviors. Now I'm going to do the same thing and try to skirt the whirlwind." We need to be those that says, "Oh yeah, God says, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap. For the one who sows into his flesh will from his flesh reap corruption, but the one who sows into the Spirit will from the Spirit reap eternal life." We should be willing to take that and say, okay, I don't need the hard things to happen to me. I don't need to see let's say, for an example, I don't need to see a relative of mine taking being addicted to substances and going down to the grave because of it, in order for me to recognize or I can see that and say that's not a route that I want to take. Even a simple man can see that, right? But to be reproved by it, to be able to recognize it and say, okay, well, if I hear you shouldn't do drugs, right, then I should say, okay, my parents told me that. I'm just going to believe it because my parents have my best interests at heart. A simple person needs to see the other person go down to Sheol before they'll agree. Whereas a wise person will say the reproof will go into me deeper than 100 blows into a fool. That lifestyle, seeing that lifestyle, would go into a fool. So what is this supposed to produce? And I'm going to read, the purpose, right? Psalm 141:5 says, "Let the righteous smite me, it shall be a kindness, and let him reprove me, it shall be an excellent oil, which shall not break my head. For yet my prayer also shall be in their calamities." And then iron sharpeneth iron, Proverbs 27:17. So a man sharpeneth the countenance or the face of his friend. We should be able to be sharpened by words from our friends, from people who we trust. And instead of having to do as I, so people say, do as I say, not as I do. In this instance, it would actually be wise to do what they say. If what they're saying is godly, don't do what they do. You don't need to go down to Sheol to know that Sheol is not a good end. Listen to the reproofs of the wise. So what is this supposed to produce in us? In a teachable, Proverbs 12:1. Whoso loveth instruction, But he that hateth reproof is brutish or stupid. And you'll see that the previous video I did, that stupid is as stupid does. A fool, Proverbs 18:2, hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself, or as the ESV says, but only in expressing his opinion. He just wants to give his own opinion all the time. He doesn't want to understand, right? He just wants to talk, right? And then even the understanding of teachable disposition here, faithful are the wounds of a friend, profuse are the kisses of an enemy. The wounds of a friend, someone who cares about me, are faithful. They're not trying, they want the best for me. So I should have a teachable disposition. That's why men should submit to pastors. Pastors should be submitted to Christ and to the body of elders in general. Again, that's one of the reasons why we have these hierarchies of authority in our lives. We need to be teachable. We need to have a teachable disposition. So how can we? What are some application points that we can take from this text? Well, one thing, as a teacher of children, you should be willing or use contrast in your teaching. When you're teaching your children, don't be afraid to contrast different learning styles, different things, the good and the bad, using examples. Use contrast in your teaching. The second is that we should be slow to speak, quick to listen. James 1:19 says, "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God." We want the righteousness of God. So that means we need to be quick to hear and slow to speak. Having a teachable disposition means that we're going to be slow to anger because we're willing to take the example of Christ, the example produced here in James and in the Proverbs, that we should be those who do not speak without thinking. It is a shame to speak without knowing all of the facts. Quick to listen, slow to speak. And the last thing that we should be willing to do, and I think I sort of mentioned this earlier, is that we should be willing to learn from others' mistakes. We should be willing to learn from the mistakes of others. We should not see someone going down a path and say, and see the end of their life and see the toil and trouble that they're in and tribulations that they are enduring because of the choices that they're making. We should be able to see those and say, I don't want that for my life. I'm going to make different decisions. All right, so I'm going to leave you with that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, be on alert, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. See y'all around. Bye.